Hi, I'm Dr. Shannon Beck, and I'm here to talk about adversarial thinking, one of the big ideas that make up the cybersecurity curriculum framework. What do we mean by adversarial thinking? This big idea extends the concept of adversary to anything that might disrupt a system, from a clever cybercriminal who can adapt all the way to natural disasters such as earthquakes and floods. Thinking like an adversary can help better protect systems. This is vital when designing, creating, and defending systems. Think of a smartphone. There's software, you've got the apps that actually run on the phone, and a complex operating system that helps make that system usable. You've got the hardware for processing and the screen for input and output, and for audible things as well. And then you've got the complex system of networks and communication and other software and hardware in the real physical world to handle all of the communications and networking necessary to make cell phones work and interact with other cell phones and other devices. Defense is easier when it's started in the design phase. When building a castle, a big part of the design is to protect and limit access. High walls, a drawbridge, and a moat are part of the fundamental design that goes into a castle's defenses prior to building it to make it more secure. One must think about what can go wrong to defend against that. You could have a strong physical defense, but if an adversary can convince the person controlling the drawbridge to drop it, then the castle defenses have been compromised. You have to think like an adversary to better train and defend from attacks. Similarly, in cybersecurity, you must think like an adversary and ask what can go wrong. You need to identify what your critical assets that you're trying to protect are. Are they patient medical records, emails, blueprints, or other intellectual property? Then one must design and implement systems to protect those assets. Then you want to identify ways to detect whether protections fail. You set up protections. When they fail, how do you know they failed? And then how do you respond to those failures? And then ultimately, how do you recover to a working state? Unlike a castle where attackers must be at or near the castle, cyber adversaries can launch attackers from a computer that's in another room, another state, another country, another continent. Instead of soldiers, there are people and programs. Programs don't get tired, and one type of attack is a distributed denial-of-service attack. This type of attack is launched from many systems in many locations at the same time. How do the attackers launch it for so many systems? Well, they take control of other people's devices. It can be a computer, a smartphone, even a refrigerator or a webcam. These compromised systems have the malicious software that can then be used to attack other systems, websites, companies, and even people. An adversary might attempt to find these key assets, such as computers, compromise them, all while avoiding detection. The most challenging of adversaries can adapt their defenses and adjust their attacks based on the system's responses. If one attack doesn't work, simply move on and try maybe more complex. The idea is, for this big idea, is to have students really challenge their assumptions and practice thinking about opposing forces for human adversaries and the capabilities and actions. For human adversaries, intentions matter. Is it a white hat hacker working to really secure a system by testing out those defenses? Is it a black hat hacker who wants to attack a system to cause harm or steal information? Adversarial thinking includes asking oneself, how are systems disrupted both by intentional attacks and unintentional events? How does a cybersecurity life cycle or kill chain capture how an adversary approaches compromising a system? And this kill chain is actually part of the big idea that's explored in depth. Another question to ask is, how is the presence of opposing forces considered when creating that system's defense? Adversarial thinking is really woven throughout the other big ideas, and it's vital to securing and protecting the systems, data, and people. The cyber kill chain model can help students to explore the different phases of an attack and better understand how defenses can be designed into systems to help better analyze the threats and vulnerabilities, as well as the attacks that can happen. Thank you so much for your interest in the cybersecurity curriculum framework, and remember, thinking like an adversary can help better protect against those adversaries.